Accurate, immaculate. This is Kabaka Pyramid representing for the #1 show, Zionites. Yeah, man, just keep it locked and keep it accurate. Kabaka Pyramid said that every time. No fluff.
Ja, Rastafari.
Roots Juice Breakfast, where I get the supplemental healing every morning, you know. Buzz Rock says so. Worldwide, you know. Non-stopping. Haile Rastafari.
Glory to Ja, Rastafari.
One of the world's best known figures and faces, and one that most of us know least about.
Do you know who Haile Selassie guy is? Do you know what Haile Selassie guy did? Do you know where Haile Selassie guy lived? Did you hear what Haile Selassie guy said? Did you see how Haile Selassie guy dressed? Could you tell that Haile Selassie was blessed? Did they prove that Haile Selassie is dead? Now they don't know Haile Selassie is dread. Do you know who Haile Selassie guy is? Do you know what Haile Selassie guy did? Do you know where Haile Selassie guy lived? Did you hear what Haile Selassie guy said? Did you see how Haile Selassie guy dressed? Could you tell that Haile Selassie was blessed? Did they prove that Haile Selassie is dead? Now they don't know Haile Selassie is dread. A real man, not a dream. The king of kings with a queen. First African on Time magazine. No one else in the world ain't seen what he's seen. Walked in his footsteps or been where he's been. He walked with the poor and watered the green. He fought on the field with the rest of the team. Got burnt by the gas that was dropped from the plane. Didn't have time to cry about pain. Just had to get up and move on again. Work in the sun and work in the rain. Just work for the people, never in vain. He stayed humble, never complained. Stayed faithful even when his youth got slain. From day one he ran a righteous campaign. The most regal no matter what the week can't claim.
Figures and faces, and one that most of us know least about.
Do you know who Haile Selassie guy is? Do you know what Haile Selassie guy did? Do you know where Haile Selassie guy lived? Did you hear what Haile Selassie guy said? Did you see how Haile Selassie guy dressed? Could you tell that Haile Selassie was blessed? Did they prove that Haile Selassie is dead? Now they don't know Haile Selassie is dread. Do you know who Haile Selassie guy is? Do you know what Haile Selassie guy did? Do you know where Haile Selassie guy lived? Did you hear what Haile Selassie guy said? Did you see how Haile Selassie guy dressed? Could you tell that Haile Selassie was blessed? Did they prove that Haile Selassie is dead? Now they don't know Haile Selassie is dread. A real man, not a dream. The king of kings with a queen. First African on Time magazine. No one else in the world ain't seen what he's seen. Walked in his footsteps or been where he's been. He walked with the poor and watered the green. He fought on the field with the rest of the team. Got burnt by the gas that was dropped from the plane. Didn't have time to cry about pain. Just had to get up and move on again. Work in the sun and work in the rain. Just work for the people, never in vain. He stayed humble, never complained. Stayed faithful even when his youth got slain. From day one he ran a righteous campaign. The most regal no matter what the weak can't claim. Do you know who Haile Selassie guy is? Do you know what Haile Selassie guy did? Do you know where Haile Selassie guy lived? Did you hear what Haile Selassie guy said? Did you see how Haile Selassie guy dressed? Could you tell that Haile Selassie was blessed? Did they prove that Haile Selassie is dead? Now they don't know Haile. Man of the millennium, world's best dressed. First colour picture ever impressed. Fresh and clean, forever impressed. First emperor crowned next to his empress. The first Haile Selassie to sit down on the throne of Menelik. The first emperor in Africa to have a true constitution writ. Just imagine it for a minute then sit, for a minute then think. Why didn't no one take nothing but him? H.I.M. That's the reason that I raised my pen. Peter told him, let me tell them again. I know he is the king of kings and the lord of lords and a saviour with a new name. Just like a thief in the night, he passed through and overcame. Do you know who Haile Selassie guy is? Do you know what Haile Selassie guy did? Do you know where Haile Selassie guy lived? Did you hear what Haile Selassie guy said? Did you see how Haile Selassie guy dressed? Could you tell that Haile Selassie was blessed? Did they prove that Haile Selassie is dead? Now they don't know Haile. Root of Ori, people of the book. Seed of Solomon, seed of Cush. Throne of David, key to the ark. Night Binky warrior, beat to the heart. Nothing like Caesar, elect of Jah. Prince of peace, Lion of Judah. Shepherd of sheep, founder of the OAU, that's deep. Father of Africa is he. He was greeted by John F. Kennedy, and he said something that you should read. The brain needs food, so feed that need. Highly conquered anger and greed. Conquering like an indeed, both arms stretched out for the ones in need. If we follow his way, then we will succeed, so do it with speed. Do you know who Haile Selassie guy is? Do you know what Haile Selassie guy did? Do you know where Haile Selassie guy lived? Did you hear what Haile Selassie guy said? Did you see how Haile Selassie guy dressed? Could you tell that Haile Selassie was blessed? Did they prove that Haile Selassie is dead? Now they don't know Haile Selassie is dread. Do you know who Haile Selassie guy is? Do you know what Haile Selassie guy did? Do you know where Haile Selassie guy lived? Did you hear what Haile Selassie guy said? Did you see how Haile Selassie guy dressed? Could you tell that Haile Selassie was blessed? Did they prove that Haile Selassie is dead? Now they don't know Haile Selassie is dread.
Father figure of modern Africa, the legendary descendant of King Solomon
Majesty.
and the Queen of Sheba, His Imperial Majesty, Haile Selassie I, conquering lion of the tribe of Judah, elect of God, King of kings,
Thanksgiving.
Emperor of Ethiopia.
Up.
Greetings family, blessed love and light. How is everybody feeling? You are tuned into EBC 104.7 FM Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, My name is John Mike. It is a pleasure to be here with you this evening. Yeah? Greetings in the name of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I and Her Imperial Majesty Empress Menenai. Tune we opened up with just there was called Do You Know? Yeah? Coming from an artist called Magical, hailing out to the UK, bigging up all UK massive. Yeah? Bigging up Mystery School each and every time. Family, Kibra Amlak on the production. We have a very special mix in store this evening. We're going to be playing you some of our interview and our reasoning recorded with the directors of Fairfield House, which is His Majesty's house in England. Yeah, so as one like Magical said on the track right there, do you know where Haile Selassie lived? Yeah, so this evening we go a little bit deeper into the history of the King of Kings and we give thanks and praises in a musical fashion right now. We're going to go into a tune called Picture on the Wall. This one is coming from a band called The Natural Eights, yeah? It's a bit of a classic. Bigging up DJ Easy, bigging up DJ Doulas, whatever's clever. This is the Zion Hates Roots Juice Mix. Rastafari love.
Do you have a picture of His Majesty Rasta?
Yes, I am, Jalil.
And do you have a picture of His Majesty Dread?
Yes, I am, Jai is within I.
And do you have a picture of His Majesty Rasis?
Yes, I am.
On the wall, Rastafari sit up on his throne. Just sit up on the seat of judgment with the red, gold, and green wrapped around him. Oh yeah, sit up on the seat of justice, defending the poor and the weak and the fatherless. In my house, there's a picture on the wall. Rastafari sit up on his throne. In my house, there's a picture on the wall. Rastafari sit up on his throne. All nations on the earth, oh yeah, the root of David, light of this world, oh yeah, his eyes as red as fire, my picture ain't no liar, because the whole world see I know, Rasta live forevermore. In my house, there's a picture on the wall. Rastafari sit up on his throne. In my house, there's a picture on the wall. Rastafari sit up on his throne. Rasta live forevermore. Rasta live forever.
Rastafari. Rasta live. Jah live forevermore. We give thanks and praises. You tune into EBC. That was the sound of a band called Natural 8, and the tune was called Picture on the Wall, yeah? Giving thanks and praise to be here. Like I say, this evening we're going to be playing you some of our reasoning with the directors of Fairfield House, which is the house where His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I was living while he was in England, while he went into exile during the war with Italy. You know what I mean? And we have to know the true history of the thing, because as we know, many people think His Majesty ran away. We know that is not true. We know that is not the case. And if we study, if we look at the true history, we can find the reality of the situation. So we give thanks and praises once again, yeah? Tune into the Roots Juice Zion Heist Mix. My name is Jamaic. Give thanks to be here with you. Bigging up DJ Easy. Bigging up DJ Doulas, taking you through each and every time, yeah? Reggae Thursdays. It's been a minute. We're happy to be on air again right now. 2023, 2015 Ethiopian calendar. Forward ever. Yeah? Right now we're going to go into one more tune. This one is called In the House of the Father. Yeah? It's coming from an artist called Sister Benji. Earthworks Amsterdam on the production. Bigging up Jarridge, Brother Ben, all Massive and crew worldwide. Yeah? Keep it locked. On the other side, we're going to go into the first part of our reasoning. It's all about Fairfield House. It's all about the King of Kings, Emperor Haile Selassie I. Rastafari. Bless up. Family, I had to pull this one up. Word sound power, yeah? In the house of my father there are many rooms. In the wicked house of Babylon there are many, many tombs. Choose.
Walking on a path
Sounds of Sister Benji. Earthworks. Bigging up all our sisters, each and every time. All our mothers, our aunties, our daughters, our grandmothers. Bigging up all our beloved Addis Ababa Massive and crew and family locked in all across Ethiopia. Shashamani Wandogene. Prayers in this time, yeah? Lalibela. Addis Ababa, the city of the King of Kings. Jasagoro, the birthplace. So family, give thanks for tuning in. Keep it locked this evening, we're here with you. We're going to be going into the first part of our interview. I'm going to tell you about it. Easy and Dulas, big up. Yeah, family. Big tune. Tune is called The House, yeah? Sister Benji. That one is available on Earthworks, Amsterdam. So go and check it out. Bigging up all Massive and crew locked in, as always, yeah? Hope everyone is well. A lot of exciting things happening. Give thanks to be able to share some of these things with the Massive starting this evening, yeah? So, what can I say? Last month, January 2023, around Timket, you know what I mean? Melkam Timket, Melkam Gina, you know what I mean? Yeah, hope everyone had a blessed celebration. So around those times, Ethiopia was blessed with a visit from 3 very special people actually hailing out of the UK. 2 of those people are directors at Fairfield House in Bath, which is a city 2 hours south of London in England. And this is the city in which His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie was living during his time. So he bought a house called Fairfield House. This is where he and his family stayed when he left England to come back to Ethiopia. He then donated, he gave this house to the city of Bath, particularly for the aged, for the elderly people. His wishes were that this house was to be used for the care of the elderly, you know what I mean? And yeah, throughout the years there have been some challenges, you know what I mean? The council did try to take back the house a few times, and it is only due to some very, very special and hardworking people and livicated people and jazz soldiers over there in the UK that managed to over and over again keep His Majesty's house safe and secure and running for the purpose that His Majesty intended it. Yeah, so still until today the house is used as a care home for the elderly. Every first Saturday of the month they hold a Rastafari Sabbath Nyabingi gathering at the house. There's a lot of things going on. There's a museum. There's recently there's been added the Sacred Garden, because there was a chapel. England's first Ethiopian Orthodox Church was the chapel that His Majesty had built in Fairfield grounds, and they brought a tablet from Jerusalem, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's an important part of the history, and like I say, half the story has never been told, so we have to dig a little deeper to find the truth, and tonight that's what we're going to do. Yeah, so right now family, without further ado, I'm going to hit play on the first part of our reasoning, introducing our beloved sister Pauline, you know what I mean, and our beloved brother William, both directors and managers of Fairfield House for some years now. So they were here in Ethiopia. It was their first time. They were seeing the vibes, seeing Wagwan. They got to travel around a bit. They got to experience Timket, and we got to catch up just before Timket and find out about their experience and find out a little bit more about the house. Of course, we have to big up brother Keith Bowers as well, the author of the book Imperial Exile. We have an interview with him that we're going to be playing on a future show. So keep it locked. It's all about the Roots Juice. It's all about the Zion Heights. It's all about what is clever. And right now, it's all about Fairfield House, yeah? Keep it locked, family. The first part is about 15 minutes, more music, more reasoning on the other side. Jah love, Rastafari.
Roots Juice Breakfast.
The Nestling family, greetings and love. You are tuned in once again. We are once again here in the capital city, Addis Ababa, the royal city of His Imperial Majesty. Joined by another 2 very, very special guests on the show right now. Many of you may know of Imperial Voice Radio, where we also have a program. So right now it is an honor to be joined by 2 fellow Imperial Voice Radio hosts, but more importantly, also managing directors of Fairfield House, which is the home of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie in the UK, in Bath. So welcoming to the show Sister Pauline, Brother William. Give thanks to meet finally properly in Addis. Yeah.
Nice to see you, mate. You made it eventually.
Yes. So you've been in Ethiopia now just over a week, I think.
That's right.
Yeah. How has it been? Is it first time or?
Yeah, the first time to both of us, and very busy.
Yeah, full of impressions. It's extraordinary. There's so much to process and get to grips with. Yeah.
And I think you've done a little bit of traveling as well.
Yes, we came in on the Friday morning, and the afternoon we were on ECB. The next day was Christmas, so we travelled, and then after that we've just been doing lots of travelling around His Majesty, to palaces, to places of interest, and meeting with people of interest, and people are interested in what we're doing. So it's been a very productive week up to today. So every day there's something else to do.
We did a little excursion to Shashamane as well. Met the EWF there, stayed with a lovely couple, Alex and Sondrine, Zion Train Lodge. Everyone knows the Zion Train Lodge. So, and we came back, visited Wonder Gannett as well, and then resided. We looked at the villa and looking out onto the lake, which is currently an Air Force base. It's been a good trip.
Yeah, for real. And obviously connecting with the community in Shashamane, the Rastafari community. Obviously in England we have a very big Rastafari community, and often we have gatherings at Fairfield House. Could you tell us about that experience meeting with the community in Shashamane?
I think it wasn't entirely what I expected, and I think maybe it was time, because we've grown up knowing about Shashamane, hearing about the gift, and I think in my mind I just thought it was just one level and everybody was on this plot. But when we got there, we passed 12 Tribe, there was another section, then we went to EWF, then we went to the Bingy House. So in the time that we had, I don't think we explored it enough. So I think it would need a bit more time to actually to get the feel of it, and to meet with the groups who are actually in Shashamane. So we're hearing lots of land rights and lots of things going on down there, but again, for the short period of time that we were there, we couldn't come back and give you a good reasoning on that. So I think it's something that will come at another time, and also to continue the conversation with ones and ones who we have met, and we do know from the UK who have gone down and travel more regular. So
yeah, I'd say we had a really warm welcome. I think it's very tough there. I think the ideal of having 500 families in a promised land, living the dream of the return to Africa, is a really beautiful one. It's an incredibly inspiring gift by His Majesty. I think the reality is very challenging for a number of reasons. I think we sensed that there was disagreement between the different groups or stakeholders that could be there. I think the EWF were the legal title holders mentioned in the proclamation, but they don't seem to have the proclamation. So there doesn't seem to be a really clear basis of what the land is. We didn't meet the 12 tribes, but I understand they were perhaps a little closer to His Majesty and have slightly different views, different beliefs. I think almost all the individuals we spoke to have had challenges about encroachment on their land. I think people feel anxious and uncertain, and you really need a clear basis of who is legally entitled to be where. I mean, as well as tensions between the communities, there seems to be tensions with local people and tensions with the municipal authorities. And it feels that the municipal authorities wanted or were expecting investment, an organised approach to land and investment. That's what they need, and it's not really happening. So I think we maybe went to Shashamane thinking we're facing some challenges at Fairfield House and Bath. It's been hard work, But actually, I think the challenges that the community is facing there
Yeah,
are
of course. And I think
bigger.
meeting upon some youths as well who were finding it very difficult. So even speaking with them on what they wish to do and how we go forward with that. So we haven't left empty-handed, we've left to even to leave people to talk, continue the conversation. And as I said, in whatever way we can support when we get back, then we will do so.
But you need the proclamation. I mean, in Fairfield House, when the house was under challenge, Pauline went and researched the deed of gift. So she had written down, signed by His Majesty, exactly why Fairfield House was given, to whom it was given, and for whose benefit.
Yeah.
And that guides us all the time. So you've got to have the proclamation so that you know what land was gifted and to who, and how that's then controlled, so that you can have proper title deeds and stuff. I mean, really, it's a very, very valuable gift, and EWF should be considered a very wealthy organisation which has a substantial responsibility, for the administration of that land of beautiful quality. But it's challenging, clearly.
Yeah. And so, touching upon the challenges you mentioned in Fairfield, in England as well, there was even a problem with the grant at one time. I think the city, they wanted to take back control of the house, and as you said, Fairfield House was even gifted by His Majesty to the people of Bath when he left. What could you tell us about it?
Yes, I think just like Shashamali, where anything that His Majesty is gifted, there's just a little bit of issue. But with Fairfield House, it was gifted to the aged people, and if you've been to Fairfield House, there's a plaque outside the door that states that, and inside we have the deed of gift that states that. So we knew what it was for, and it was a home for the elderly for many, many years until the 1990s. Then it wasn't fit for purpose. So what could they do with it? So they probably thought that nobody knew about the gift, or they could sell the house, and they came up with this idea to sell it. Somebody, a whistleblower, made it known, so they had to change tack, and they went with it being a day service. So BEMSCO was involved in that at the very beginning, but then in 2012 they came back again to say that yes, they couldn't continue to maintain it. By now, BEMSCO is the only organization in the building, where before there was at least 4 organizations. So one organization doesn't seem fit. So BEMSCO had to look outside of that, to look at other communities, such as the Rastafari community, who was already on fringe, the Ethiopian community, the local community, to make sure that they were, they could support. But it also had to look at a body to start to represent Fairfield House, because BEMSCO in itself couldn't do so, not with the elderly organisation. So we set up the Friends of Fairfield House. That ran for a little while, but that still wasn't the heartbeat. So we then set up the CIC, which is more a governing body, and they have been able to support, to secure a lease now with the council, and to get us on a better footing. But coming up to all of that, that might seem like step 1, 2, 3, but there's lots of work had gone on in all those years, because the constitution had to be made, you have to have a business plan, you have to look at how you're going to raise that fund to do so, you have to start to work with so many different bodies. So these are some of the things that we shared with the EWF, that it takes time, but you have to have a body that can see the future. You don't look for today, you have to look forward. His Majesty, in his hindsight, when he gave that house, to look at 80 years later and it's still there, that is an achievement by those people who are managing Fairfield House, and BEMSCO, who has, because it's carrying on that legacy. So the age is always going to be the main part of Fairfield House, but we as the directors on the CIC, I see that as a stool, with the seat being the elders, and the stool, the legs, the Rastafari community, the Ethiopian community, and the local people. So that is what's kept Fairfield House going, and we hope that we'll keep it going for the longevity of that gift.
So it's like today, Pauline and Keith and I, we met school children at Menelek School in Addis, and we met the heritage clubs. So these schools were set up with support from Bath University, heritage clubs, where they think, why is heritage important? what is our various different heritage, and why is it unique, and why should we protect it? And the children said some really smart things. One, for example, is that heritage is both tangible, like a building, and also intangible, like culture or statecraft or philosophy or books. And in Fairfield House, it's heritage, which the city hasn't always realised, because the city essentially is treating it as an old people's home. And His Majesty's gift has an intangible value, which isn't just about the building and the building that's going to decay. So we've set up a community interest company, a social enterprise, to protect and celebrate His Majesty's legacy. That means protecting the building, but also celebrating the wider legacy, the lessons he has for our community, his historical role, his statecraft, his campaign for human rights, and so forth. So we feel we're not there just to look after a building, we're there to bring together those three communities that Pauline mentioned, which is local people and Ethiopians and other African people and Rastafari. I mean, to each of those groups, this legacy is really important for different reasons, but we have to work together because the beneficiary of the deed of gift is the agent. So the deed of gift, just to be really specific, the beneficiary, the legal owner, is the Corporation of Bath, the municipal authority, which is now called Bath in North East Somerset. The reason it was given was because of the warm welcome from the people of Bath. And the beneficiary is as a home for the agent. So people do sometimes come forward with confused ideas about who it was given to, and who owns it, and who should pay for it. The council's the landlord. As of 3 months ago, the tenant is the community interest company, the not-for-profit social enterprise.
And that's BEMSCA.
BEMSCA is a charity. It's been going now for 30 years.
Operates within the Fairfield House.
And
as held Fairfield House, because of knowing the heritage, the legacy, it has supported lots of events to happen in Fairfield House, which is now, as a joint working with the CIC to make sure those continue. One of the things we have, as you mentioned, we have the radio station inside, we have the library, we have a museum, we have tours that happen in the house. Those things wouldn't happen in an older people's home, but the older people could see the future of Fairfield House, and to make sure these things are happening, we have community business in Fairfield House, because we have to look at how we're going to manage running Fairfield House, and it cannot run by people just turning up and thinking that we can have something here and we don't pay for it. The older people have to pay something to be at Fairfield House. Although they're funded, they have to make contribution, because it doesn't run like that. So the CIC body is the stronger body now. That's looking further afield, not just to the older people or the community business or the little events. They have to look for bigger funding. So they're going for funding with universities, they're going with funding with heritage, they go with funding, with entrepreneurs who want to put something into Fairfield House. So yes, the plan is in process now.
So BEMSCA's, it's a charity that's always cared for the elders, but it's been stretched, hasn't it? Because Fairfield needs so much, and BEMSCA's been stretched really poorly, and our team have been stretched to cover all these quite demanding different roles. And the CIC has really taken a different view, which is we will be entrepreneurial. We're a not-for-profit, but we're going to set clear rules and procedures, and we're going to make the income that we need to meet the sort of bills of running and tending to other things, and we're going to campaign and work much more closely with the council for raising the really large sums that are needed to fix a building that hasn't been looked after for 30 years. Things go seriously wrong with a building if you haven't maintained it for 30 years. Those things are expensive to fix. So there's a sort of tens of thousands of pounds that we make from our university partnerships, the guided tours, the shop, letting a few rooms, and that helps with the day-to-day running. There's some bigger capital investment that the council, because it's still the landlord, has to make. But when we need to raise millions of pounds, like 2, 3, 4, 5 million pounds, we will never trade our way to those sums. We'll have to work with the council to say this is really valuable heritage for the following reasons, to the following communities which are not well served, which are underrepresented in the heritage which is available locally. So we really must make a strong case for proper investment to put this into a proper footing.
Haile Selassie is the champion. Power of the Trinity. Build your mind on this direction. Serve the living God and live. Live in God. Live in God and live. Take your troubles to Selassie. Is the only King of Kings. King of Kings. King of Kings is he. Conquering Lion of Judah. Triumphantly we all must sing. All must sing. All must sing. I search and I search. Great book of mine. In the revelation, look what I find. Haile Selassie is the champion. Should know, all should know, all should know that man is the angel.
Jah Rastafari.
Roots Juice Breakfast.
Yes, family, blessed love and light. How is everybody feeling? You are tuned into EBC 104.7 FM, Ethiopia, whatever's clever reggae Thursdays. This is the Roots Juice Zion Heights hour. You know what I mean? So we give thanks and praises. This evening, we are in reasoning. Yeah, we just played you the first part of our reasoning with Sister Pauline and Brother William of Fairfield House, UK, directors, you know what I mean, of Fairfield House. Sister Pauline is also the director of BEMSCA, which is the organization responsible for carrying out the wishes of His Imperial Majesty, which was to use Fairfield House as a home to care for the elderly citizens of Bath. Yeah, and to this day, family, His Imperial Majesty remains Bath's most eminent resident. You know what I mean? There's a very nice documentary on YouTube. It's called Footsteps of the Emperor. You know what I mean? And it shows you a little bit about His Majesty's time in England and how the people reacted to his being there. And it was very positive, and yeah, it's very nice and very interesting documentary to see these accounts of how the English people took to His Majesty and the royal family of Ethiopia. You know what I mean? being in England at that time. So we give thanks. We had a tune right there called Selassie is the Chapel, of course coming from Haile Selassie, the light of the Trinity, one like Bob Marley, Robert Nesta Marley. Of course, this week we are celebrating his birthday as well, 6th of February, 78 years, you know what I mean? So blessed heavenly earth strong to Brother Bob. We give thanks for the works and the teachings. We give thanks for, you know what I mean, that I putting Ethiopia on the map for I and I generation, for the whole world to see His Majesty's face and for the whole world to look to Ethiopia in this time. So it's a very powerful thing. We give thanks and praises, and we forward on right now into the second part of our interview with Brother William and Sister Pauline of Fairfield House, UK. More music on the other side. Easy taking you through to midnight. Yeah, Roots True, Sion Heights. I'm Jamaica with you. Bless.
This is Uva Bantan and you tune into the Roots Juice Breakfast. Run it!
And it's really an amazing story as well. And you know how His Majesty even gave it for the care of the elderly. And how, you know, there has been this fight going on in this small quiet corner of England over something, you know, that is quite significant for all of the world, because we know how His Majesty spread across all of the world. So with BEMSCA and the other involved parties, you mentioned some of the other projects that have been taking place at Fairfield over the years. Could you go into a bit more detail? I know within the last 2 or 3 years there was the radio station being constructed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously weekly tours every Sunday, I believe, have become very popular. Yeah.
So where would we start on that? The cultural life of the house includes a library. We've been gifted the collection of Richard Pankhurst, who's obviously very well known at Addis, who was the first director of the Institute of Ethiopian Studies. So that's a responsibility. We had a librarian for a bit. We had Ezra writing a book.
Yes.
In Giz or in Amharic?
In Giz.
It was beautiful, beautiful, long handwriting. We've built a museum. We've assembled a collection which tells the story of the emperor's exile and his time in Bath and his triumphant return, and that is very popular. It's not huge numbers. The house isn't suited to vast numbers, but Ras Benji, who leads the tours generally, takes small groups around for a very intense experience, which they really value a lot. They're very emotional afterwards.
It is a very emotional. If anybody wants to watch the Facebook page, you know, there's always a little glimpse of people telling their story. That we've taken it one step further, that we have a testimonial project coming out of that, so people can tell us their stories of His Majesty time and how they met him and the impact it made on their lives as well.
We've introduced a table tennis tournament because His Majesty was a big, keen table tennis player. Princess Sahai, pretty good with the back. And what's nice about that is it instinctively brings all the communities together. I mean, if it's a Nyabingi, it would be one community, or if it's the Ethiopians, you know, it would be. They're all individually welcoming, but they're particularly. The table tennis tournament was quite.
Yeah, so we're going to make an annual.
I think
so start last year was the first, so this year April the 29th, I believe it will be the day.
Did someone say finalist?
Oh, sorry.
Anyway,
he was in the finals.
So. It was pink. Really, from Bamsi, it was really cool. So also, the Ethiopians now do a race for Adwa, when they recognise that you can't just come at the table and eat the food and not pay the bills, sort of thing. So they have an annual fundraising event where they all put this app and measure their running and walking, and they want to cover the whole distance from Addis Ababa to Adwa. And then they come down from London on the train, and they all walk from Bath Abbey. You know, what was it, 120, 150 of them? 50. Flags, drums, a really celebratory arrival at Fairfield House. So that would be an annual event. It's really.
And that's good to see, because you know what, as you said, Fairfield House is a little bit out of Bath, and it's that little cornerstone. Yeah. So just to have things happening at Fairfield House, and people seeing the colour here and hear the noise. We also celebrate His Majesty's birthday, Coronation Day. You have the Saturday, the monthly Rastafari Sabbath with Raspandeli. You know, so there's lots of things that's happening at Fairfield House, and I know that there's a small group to come with, you know, to about Rastafari reasoning in the house, and the library also. that they will make use of, or anyone coming on African history. So we're thankful for that too.
We should talk about the EWF as well and what they did. So the Fairfield House area includes a 70s bungalow which had an overgrown bramble garden and a fence. And the council, which is very short of money, thought they could save money by letting that bungalow to an NHS client who needed a lot of support. And this is a problem because it would break up the balance of the house, and also that garden was the site of the greenhouse where His Majesty and Empress Menen would pray. It was literally the first Ethiopian church in Britain because they had a sacred tabot brought from Jerusalem. So we were trying to sort of negotiate our way through this, and actually EWF and other volunteers went and ripped down the fence, cleared out all the brambles, laid out a beautiful sacred garden, and then the mayor visited and said, oh, what a lovely sacred garden, and then it became an established fact, and now in the lease they've agreed to include the bungalow and the sacred garden area in what we're leasing. So that is really important when we come and see the churches here, and how important the faith leaders here see the work of Fairfield House, and particularly because it was the site of Britain's first Ethiopian church. I mean, thank heavens that action was taken.
Yes, but we were at St. Mary's today, and we met the Archdeacon, so as I said, our journey has taken us to places that we never even thought of. Some of the places have just been things that we've read in Keith's book, but people have just been welcoming and thankful that we have done. So we see Fairfield House as the catalyst now, because it's reached out and to have met so many of the different gifts of His Majesty, that we feel that we need to make that pathway so people we get to talk to each other and to know, so that the exile years become a part of their project as well as we take on board His Majesty's life in our project. We just do it in bits because we would look at it as His Majesty from birth to death. We just knew of his exile because that's what people are coming to Fairfield for. But I think now we just need to take the whole story in each one of us, from Unity to Jubilee. Everybody needs to get a bit of that story.
That's a really good point. So in Bath, we think, a few years ago, we thought people are ignoring this, they're not really aware of it. There's been a really big turnaround in the last 2 years in the heritage community, in the council, the officers and the politicians. They now really understand that Fairfield House is something very, very important for Bath. So we feel happy to have seen that change, and to come to Addis and to see what they've done to Menelek's Palace, Unity Park, and how they have completely refurbished it and made it something very important. We were taken into Jubilee Palace and we saw all the works which are flat out. I mean, they're due for completion in 9 months. They're completely refurbishing this vast place with all 149,000 artifacts, including gifts from foreign leaders, have been housed in newly built breeze block buildings while the refurbishment work is going on. So the small thing that's happened to us in Bath is a huge thing happening here. And we're saying, well, we think we're part of this. We think if His Majesty's palaces are being reappraised, we think we're part of that movement. And so it's been very moving to see.
And we've been welcomed into all the conversation to Trinity Church, to Selassie Church, and everyone I've just opened the door, and all these places have been closed because they've been doing, some restoration work. And for us to turn up and somebody comes and open the door and say, yes, you can come on in, you can come and see all these things. We just feel blessed. Just feel blessed for that.
Yeah, so Pauline has faithfully been carrying out His Majesty's wishes for now 30 years to care for the elderly. And then to see her in the Jubilee Palace addressing not just the architect leading the work, but also the director of the palace and also the director of all the palaces, who reports directly to the Prime Minister. And Pauline's just saying from the heart why what we do in Bath is so important. It was a really beautiful moment.
It is, and I think that people may look and see, well, for instance, what we do. Well, you've been there for so long, but everything takes its time, and I don't see anything bigger than it is. And I've always just done what what needs to be done. And I did an interview recently, and the thing I said was you have to have patience and time. If you have those two things, something will happen. But you also have to be looking, like we did with the children today, you have to look to the future. You cannot be looking, or you cannot own something yourself. You have to share it with others, and that sharing is what we're doing right now, because then people are hearing what we're doing, we're hearing what they're doing, and we're passing it back down to others, so that goes forward. And I think sometimes that's where groups lose themselves, is because they feel that they have ownership to one thing and not to share with others. So, and I don't think from Fairfield House that will ever happen.
Yeah, we give thanks. And so, what obviously we've reasoned about the book Imperial Exile. What can both of you tell us about His Majesty's time in Bath? You know.
I'd say talk to the expert. I think you just did, didn't you?
We did.
Yeah.
So we have another interview with Brother Keith Bowers. You can check that one out as well.
What I'd say is that his time in Bath is very important for Bath. You know, it was obviously important for him. It's obviously important for Rastafari and in Ethiopian history. But actually, in Bath, a city which has a black population, but it has quite a complicated and not entirely happy history with people of African origin. His Majesty's visit, the evident warmth between him and the people of Bath has the potential for some sort of redemptive quality, which is terribly, terribly important. So I would say I feel as strongly as any Rastafari or any Ethiopian how important his time at Bath was. And I'm really happy to work with everyone to help fulfill his wish, which is that Nova Scotia basically carry on doing its good work.
Yeah, I feel that one of the things that we've heard a lot here, even up to today, was how the British had helped. We all know that when he first came, they were distance from him, and that's why he was down in Bath or Devon. And he wasn't on his own; he had his family with him. So you can imagine how he would have felt, being distant away from the life of Ethiopia, number one, but even London, where he could get the support from the embassies and that. So, but we know that the people in Bath welcomed him. We know that the British people did, and we know that the British did help him to get back to Ethiopia. And we've heard a lot of that since we've been here. We did something last week. It was the Queen's Jubilee. And we had pictures up, and people were surprised to see His Majesty and the Queen, because they didn't see that connection. And yet, I met up with a family member of his today who said the support that the Queen had given to the family. And it's those things that people don't hear about. You only hear what you want, what is shown to you. But to hear it, one of the things on this journey is listening to some family members who are telling you, which we wouldn't have got if we were sitting in Fairfield House. But by being here, you're actually hearing how that all went. So we know that His Majesty had some sad time. We have on our tours we've done on Sunday, there's a pianola in Fairfield House. So it was given away. His Majesty was so kind, he gave away everything, but the family gave it back. So it was restored for our freedom in the city by Dr. Sean Silvers. And we played that pianola. When we played, we just tell people that although it was a house that was sad, it was also a house of life, and it was a house His Majesty would have been sitting here with his family. So we play that every on Sunday tours, and that just brings a smile to people's face. So we imagine that His Majesty would have been smiling. I just said the table tennis, there would be his prayers, there would be the outings that he did within Bath as well as outside the Bath. And Ras Benji, our historian, he finds so much information. We have in our kitchen just a picture of His Majesty who'd gone on a camping trip with some young people, and he's standing there with them. So there's always something. So it was sad, but at the same time he had to make it live, and he had to be able to show his children not the downside but the upside as well. So, and that is what is remembered in that.
I completely reinforce what you're saying about listening and how you learn surprising things. When you talk about the attitude towards royalty, one thing that we heard on this trip, which really surprised me, was hearing Prince Berger talking about his incarceration, and he was incarcerated with Jamaican people, with Rastafari, and they had a very good, warm relationship. And people sometimes say the imperial family isn't very sympathetic towards Rastafari, and yet when the Jamaicans were released, they came and visited him in jail, and when he was released from jail, they were the first to meet up. So I thought that was interesting, and also G on Rastafari and Ethiopians. So she has a very, very thoughtful and respectful understanding of that. So I think a lot of expectations are confounded.
It is. I think until you speak to the persons or people, and especially you speak to the board itself, because people can, come in with their own ideas and they can come with the wrong information. But we just want people to be able to come and see us and talk to us. And as I said, we want to be, we are very transparent, because even as the CIC board, we have open Zoom meetings if people can't come there. Because even some of our trustees, they don't live in the UK, they live abroad, but they can still come online. And we welcome anyone with expertise to be a part of that group as well.
Yeah, we're doing open surgeries every Friday afternoon, fortnight, so you can come with any questions for the CIC directors. I think the other thing that's changed recently is that, so we used to have a very remote relationship with the council. Excuse me. I think it's the Addis dust. And now we have a monthly partnership board at a really senior level with the council, and those also will be transmitted. So you can see exactly how the really top level work towards securing the future of Fairfield House is being done.
Rastafari. Yes, family. There we have it. That's all we have time for this evening, yeah? Imperial Voice Radio UK, Fairfield House, EBC, Ethiopia. Hail the King. So family, we've been in reasoning this evening. Whatever's Clever Reggae Thursdays. It's been a Roots Juice, Zion Heights special mix. And this evening we've been playing you part of our interview with Sister Pauline, Brother William, directors of Fairfield House UK, the House of His Imperial Majesty, which still today remains, you know what I mean, the House of His Majesty. You know what I mean, although the council and certain powers have tried to take it away. Forget that history. The people of Bath would not let it happen. So we salute you, all of those who are holding the house, who are guarding the palace so majestic. As you heard in the interview, big up Jabenji, big up Raspandele, and big up all the family there, Mr. Bunny, of course. Yeah, Fairfield House UK, and as I say, family, I have to big up my Imperial Voice Radio family in England. We do have a show as well on Sundays, Imperial Voice Radio. So if you want to hear the rest of this interview and some more tunes to go alongside it, tune in this Sunday. We're going to be playing you an extended mix, yeah? In the meantime, family, keep it locked to EBC. Whatever's Clever each and every Thursday, reggae night. DJ Easy taking you through till midnight this evening, yeah? Picking up Dulas, picking up all the Massive and family. We sign off right now with a tune called Hail the King, forever. Never cease to hail the King, yeah? Brothers and sisters of Ethiopia, to the youth, know the King, who was the King, who is the King. What is the work that His Imperial Majesty did in this time? Seek the facts, seek the truth. There's a lot of rumors, there's a lot of propaganda. But you know what I mean, if we are well-studied students, as His Majesty encourages us to be, we will examine all sides and find the truth for ourselves. So we give thanks and praise, family. Same time, same place next week. Keep it locked to all the social medias, at Jamaica, at Roots Juice Breakfast on Instagram. YouTube, it's Roots Juice TV. Zion Heights, Sion Kafata. More love, my life, family. And more prayers in this time, very serious time, yeah? His dominion will know no ending. The Most High sees everything. So fear not, family. We're gonna pull it up from the top. Tune is called Hail the King.
world.
Give thanks for your ears. Give thanks for listening. My name is Jamaica. It's been a pleasure to be here with you. And once again, we say good evening. To Nestling, we say greetings in the name of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I and Her Imperial Majesty Empress Menen the Balance, yeah? I have to big up my brethren Lidge Hainok, Brother Hebu, for helping I with the sound engineering on this one. Came with I to record the interview. It was a very blessed meeting. Give thanks for the moment, yeah? Picking up Brother Effie every time. Picking up all our international family, all international listeners, all Addis Ababa Massive and crew, Ethiopia, anywhere you're there. Big up and don't forget to hail the King. Until next week, family, one love. Happy birthday to the king of reggae music, Bob Marley. Sounds of Akabeka Midnight, Vaughan Benjamin as we seal up, yeah? Rastafari, love.
Hear the king up, hear the king up, hear the king now. His dominion will know no end. Oh yeah. Upon the earth the effects of his righteousness, the civic order of correspondence and implementer, within the world of firmness and eloquence, to bring effects of favorable providence, the provisions of convictions and conscience, of deliverance and diligence. Oh yeah. Hear the king up, hear the king up, hear the king now, now, yeah. His dominion will know no end. Oh yeah. When things didn't work, it was because of disobedience. Oh yeah. Dishonesty or simple intemperance, then we couldn't maintain our advanced ambience. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. In how to shape events to reflect our true sentiment, to deliver our true intent, yeah. Offer some insightful improvement comment, looking through longevity lens. Oh yeah, yes. Hear the king, oh yeah. More of the king vision to implement, good for all nations of competence. Haile Selassie, I the first, the lion prevail again. Empress Menen, I the Trinity balanced. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hear the king up, hear the king up, hear the king now, now, now. Yeah. His dominion will know no end. Upon the earth the effects of his righteousness, the civic order of correspondence and implementer, within the world with firmness and eloquence, to bring effects of favorable prominence, the provisions of convictions and conscience, of deliverance and diligence. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Hear the king up, king of kings, Jeremiah, Kidemawe, Haile Selassie. Hear the king up, hear the king now. Oh yeah, no.
Jah Rastafari.
Glory to Jah Rastafari. Man like Jamaica, Rastafari.
Roots, juice, breakfast.
Babylon, a will for.